Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
அவங்கள யாராவது கொஞ்சம் அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க. அது எடுத்துருங்க. பெட்டர். தேங்க்ஸ்.
சார் ஒரு கிளிக் பண்ணிட்டீங்கல்ல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்க்ரீன், அவ்வளோதான். யார் வராங்கன்னு எனக்கு தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது. தட்ஸ் ரீசன்.
Good afternoon, Kritika ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Kritika ma'am.
Everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
தங்கரமணி மேடம் வராங்க. ஆல்ரெடி மேடம் விஜயலட்சுமி ராமலிங்க மேடம் இருக்காங்க. தங்கரமணி மேடம் வராங்க.
விசி சாரோட ஆடியோ மட்டும் கனெக்ட் ஆகலைங்க சார்.
ஆமாம் மேடம். விஜயலட்சுமி ராமலிங்க மேடம்.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Nice seeing you all again. Best wishes. That's the captain of the team. Captain,
Vijay, good afternoon, Vijay.
Captain, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Nice to see you all. Best wishes.
Thank you.
Always you rock, you people and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's nice to see all your smiling faces. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
தேங்க்யூ மேம். தேங்க்யூ.
மா சார் வந்திருக்காருமா, விசி சார் ஜாயின் ஆவறாரு பாருங்க.
ஆமாம் ஆமாம்
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
மேடம்.
ma'am.
ரெடி பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அது மியூட்.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் மா.
தங்கரமணி மேடம் வந்தாங்க.
ஆமா ஆமாம்மா. இது வீடியோ எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் மியூட் பண்ணிடுங்க தயவு செய்து.
சார் த ஆடியோ கனெக்ட் ஆயிடுச்சுங்க மேம்.
ஓகேம்மா. ஆல் ரைட்.
கனெக்ட்.
அன்மியூட் பண்ணிக்கலாம் சார்.
சார் வராரு. சார் குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன்.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Mute.
குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் மேம்.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
ஃபேபியுலா மேடம். குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன். அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Guest வந்தாச்சுங்க சார்.
குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் மேம்.
ஆரோக்கியம் சார் கால் பண்ணுங்க. Good afternoon, sir. Professor Sairam, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
அவர் அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க. ஒரே நிமிஷம் எங்க இருக்காரு?
I'll do that.
இன்னும் உள்ள வரலையா மேடம்?
இல்ல வந்துட்டாங்க. நான் அன்மியூட் கொடுத்துட்டேன்.
மேக் கோஹோஸ்ட் போட்டுருங்க.
ஓகே.
சார் குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் சார். This Dr. Shyam Sundar sir. How are you, sir? Sir.
Unmute பண்ணலைனா
Sir, I made you as a co-host, so you can have the liberty to share your screen and unmute yourself, mute yourself, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think second speaker has also.
Pushpakumar sir. Pushpakumar sir. Good
Yes,
morning, sir.
Pushpakumar, yeah.
This is Dr. V. Shyamsundar, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for
Wonderful,
attending.
wonderful.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I make you as a co-host, sir, so you can unmute yourself and you can mute yourself, sir.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. If any screen, sir, you can share yourself also, sir.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to make any presentation.
Okay, sir.
If
Okay,
it
sir.
is not there.
Okay, sir. No issue, sir. Okay, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Professor Sairam, Bhat sir, Professor Pushpakumar sir. Good afternoon. Welcome to the.
Very good afternoon, madam. Sairam is already here.
Yes.
Yes, sir. He's here, sir.
I'm here, sir.
Hello, Sairam.
How are you, sir? Thank
Very
you.
fine. Wonderful, wonderful.
Sir, just few minutes, sir. Our director is yet to join. Just few
Sure.
minutes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think our Vice Chancellor sir is here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very fine, sir. Good afternoon.
Fine, fine. After a long gap, we are
After
meeting.
long gap. Yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Nice, nice, nice. You are welcome to our fold also. On behalf of the university and on behalf of the different colleges, I am welcoming you. Okay.
Really, sir. Thank
Right.
you so much, sir.
Nice.
Sir, good afternoon, VC, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to one and all. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Vijayalakshmi Ramalingam, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon to all.
Arogam, sir, you can unmute yourself. I made a co-host. I made you as a co-host. Please unmute yourself.
Once the director joins, we can start. Ma'am. The others have joined.
Participants, please kindly
Yes, ma'am.
stop your video.
நேரம் வர மட்டும்
Sir has joined.
Sir, it's on.
ஐயா என்னாச்சு
Sir, you're connected, sir. Arakim, sir, you're connected. We can hear you.
கனெக்ட் எஸ்
We can hear you.
தேங்க்யூ
Sir, DLS sir vandaachuma.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we start?
Sir,
ma'am?
sir, unmute பண்ணிடணும், sir.
I given the permission. Sir,
I think
DLS, sir. Sir, unmute yourself, sir. Sir, you can unmute
அது
yourself.
பரவாயில்ல இருக்கட்டும்
Sir,
Right, right.
ma'am, sir.
Yes, can we go ahead, ma'am?
Yes, ma. Yes. Sir, VC sir, can we go ahead, sir? Sir, director, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
A very warm welcome to the esteemed guests, eminent speakers, principals, faculty, and participants of this webinar. Before we begin the program, I kindly request you all to rise up for the Tamil Thai Vaalthu.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிதில் எக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you. You may be seated now. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce myself. I am Hepzibah, and I will be your host for today's program. The participants and the speakers are from various universities and diverse professions from different walks of life and from all parts of the country. Therefore, I take this opportunity to introduce our institution, Dr. Ambedkar Government Law College. It is a 130-year-old institution founded in the year 1851. It is the second oldest law college in the country and the first law college in South India. The students from our college include eminent jurists, legal luminaries, national leaders, and heads of various academic institutions. The college has been conducting various online and offline programs for the faculty and the students. We are delighted to welcome you to this national webinar on the World Environment Day. With a short note, I request our professor, Mr. S. Arokyam, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure and joy to welcome all of you and all the dignitaries, especially. I'm so joyful to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. N. Sandosh Kumar. It's like a homecoming. We have no floor to offer you, sir, but never mind, welcome home. And we are very happy that we are starting this webinar in an environmental day with your blessings. And you know that he is a great achiever. Because of his achievement, he holds this post now. Very rarely the achievers are recognized. But at right time, at right place, a right man is recognized, and that is our Professor Dr. N.S. Sandosh Kumar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University. He has done great things to our legal community, and I think he will continue to do. And we are very happy, sir, and I extend my warm welcome to you to bless this function, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
And of course, the Director of Legal Studies, a man of few words, and content with action-oriented. He walks along, he works along. He never expects any appreciation from anyone for his deed or doing his duty. He always says that it is his duty. Sir, we are happy, sir, to have you with us on this day, and we are happy that you are after becoming a permanent Director of Legal Studies. Maybe this is the first webinar you are felicitating, and we are participating, and we are blessed with your presence, sir. And thank you. And on behalf of our law college and the committee of the webinar, I welcome you wholeheartedly, and we seek your blessings, sir. And of course, we fondly call Jansi Rani, our principal of our Dr. Ambedkar Law College. She always full support, and she always appreciates, and she works along and cooperates with us. At this juncture, I must thank her, and of course, welcome her on behalf of our committee, webinar committee. And the keynote address will be delivered by the two eminent speakers. The first, Professor Dr. Sairam Bhat, Professor of Law and Coordinator, National Law School of India, Bengaluru. Sir, we extend our warm welcome to you, and your expertise will really help us and would enrich our knowledge, sir. And there will be a lot of introductions about you, sir, early. And we welcome you, sir, on behalf of the webinar and the Dr. Ambedkar Law College, Pudupakkam, sir. And the next keynote address will be delivered by the Professor Dr. Pushpakumar Lakshmanan. He is our neighbor from Pondicherry. Thank you, sir, for participating and consented to deliver a keynote address on this issue. And we are looking forward to enrich by your expertise, sir. And I also welcome all other principals of the various law colleges in Tamil Nadu and other eminent personalities who have attended this webinar to bless us and encourage us. And also I appreciate and welcome all other colleagues of various law colleges and the participants of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now it's time to felicitate the guests, and with much honor, I would like to call upon our dear principal, Professor Dr. Gauri Ramesh, to deliver the felicitation address.
Thank you, Hepsi, and thank you, Arogyam, for the wonderful welcome speech. And with much joy and gratitude, I extend my warm greetings and Environment Day wishes to our chief guest, fondly addressed to as the Karta of the legal education family, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. N.S. Santosh Kumar, sir, the ever supportive, respected Director of Legal Studies, Professor C. Chokkalingam, sir, the eminent keynote speakers of today, Professor Sairam, Bhat, sir, and Professor Pushpakumar, Lakshmanan, sir, and then the principals of various government law colleges, HODs of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, faculty members of the government law colleges and the Law University. Now, as the convener of this event, I welcome all the participants who have shown their eagerness to be a part of the event, even amidst this pandemic situation. Now, I can assure you all that this event has been planned in such a manner that all the stakeholders will leave with an updated legal knowledge surrounding the theme for the day. As the principal of the college hosting this event, it is my pleasant privilege to speak a few words of felicitation. Now, Chennai Dr. Ambedkar Government Law College, Pudupakkam, organized a virtual webinar on this very same day last year, which was first of its kind in the history of government law colleges. It is time to look back and look forward. This college has kept the momentum till now and has done its best in imparting knowledge in various fields of law. Now, it is easy to brood over the negativities of the pandemic, but then let's not lose hope. To mount up the hope, let's be reminded that each individual has to be vested with the responsibility to protect the environment. Now, the lesson we learned from the pandemic is that if we behave, then environment can take care of itself. As you are all aware, the theme for today is COVID-19 on water, environment, and related ecological and human systems. Now, there has been positive impacts and as well as negative impacts. The negative impacts are visible when the environmental ethics are not followed by the global citizens. As an individual, our contribution to the climate involves safety disposal of masks, gloves, and sanitary products that we use. This is a new type of pollution and a growing problem. So we can term it as a masked pollution. Now, the speakers will be discussing on the topic in depth, and therefore, I leave a short message in this forum, which is, let us all stop being a part of the rising tide of the PPE pollution. Now, with this, I thank all the distinguished dignitaries, my dear faculty members, the organizing team, and all the participants. And I hope that you all will have an engaging and enriching session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very short and had a impact on us. We now move on to the presidential address to be given by our respected Professor Dr. C. Chokkalingam, a law teacher with more than 30 years of experience. He has donned various administrative positions and headed academic committees of excellence. He is known for his simplicity and his commitment to teaching. I take this as my honor to invite our respected director, sir, to deliver the presidential address. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pushpakumar, respected Professor Sairam Bhat, Professor Pushpakumar, my dear friend, my sister Gauri Ramesh, the dynamic principal of the reputed Ambedkar Government Law College, Pudupakkam, Professor Arogyam, who welcome us all, and the most beloved faculty members of Pudupakkam, respected principals of various legal institutions, faculty members, and my dear brothers and sisters. A very warm good afternoon to one and all. First of all, let me express my heartfelt wishes on the very significant World Environment Day. As lawyers, faculty members, we well aware that originally, even in our curriculum, we have not given much importance to environmental law. Only when the world organized the most important conference in 1992, popularly known as Earth Summit, which was considered as the last opportunity to save our planet. The world community started giving importance to environment and also to the legal measures to save our environment. As we well aware, though crores and crores of living beings, living creatures are in the world, it is only we, the human beings, are doing untold damage to the environment. As we well aware, in the month of December 19, this severe acute respiratory syndrome caused by coronavirus was started from Wuhan city. There was a belief that this coronavirus started spreading to human beings from bats. Maybe the case, but as most of us are aware, today in Tamil Nadu, in our Ranna Zoological Park, a very young lioness, just 9-year-old lioness, Neela, died because of COVID. So the cycle is going on. The virus is spreading from other living creatures to humans. Now, on our part, we are spreading this virus to even animals. So at any cost, we have to put an end and we have to break this cycle. So for us, the impact of this corona on our environment, let me briefly mention certain good aspects, maybe a blessing in disguise. Once the coronavirus started affecting almost all the nations, the air quality in the world has improved. The CO2 level in the atmosphere has reduced, and the water purity of even the holy rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, have been improved. And also noise pollution is considerably reduced. These are all the positive aspects of the impact of coronavirus. But the most dangerous thing is every life, every human life is in danger. Whether one is a poor or rich or a farmer or industrialist, no exception. Everyone is susceptible to the infection of coronavirus. So it is a great danger to the humanity and also to the world economy. So this is the worst aspect of the coronavirus, and not only that, as a result of this coronavirus, we human beings started protecting ourselves. I think as on date, there is no actual medicine to cure this viral impact. The only remedy, of course, is vaccine. But when we started protecting ourselves, the worst impact on environment is the accumulation of biomedical waste. Today in our news item, there is a very harsh reality. Nearly 132 tons of biomedical waste is being produced in India in a single day. 132 tons of biomedical waste. Even the normal solid waste will be dangerous to the human environment and healthy living. Whereas in case of biomedical waste, it is highly dangerous. So what we are going to do? Of course, we have the fond hope that by vaccinating all the people of India, to some extent, we can protect ourselves. But as our principal, Madam Gauri Ramesh, pointed out, what is going to happen to the waste we are producing? Tons of waste we are producing. So it is a very debatable question. The experts in our panel, Professor Sairam, Bhat, and of course Professor Pushpakumar, hope he could recollect his valuable programs in Government Law College, Tiruchirappalli, when I was working there. Professor Pushpakumar, I take this opportunity to appreciate our Professor Pushpakumar. Right from the beginning, even when we were not talking about environment as an important subject, with the help of the C.P. Ramasamy Foundation, Professor Pushpakumar was very eager to spread the message of the importance of environment. Still, he continues in his effort. I really appreciate Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Pushpakumar.
Really
I don't want to take much of our time because many experts are there to discuss all the very valuable inputs. So I take this opportunity to thank the organizers, especially Madam Gauri Ramesh, the faculty members, and those who are supporting the success of the day's program. And lastly, not the least, I am always grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. N.S. Santosh Kumar. But for Professor Santosh Kumar, you all very well aware that I may not be here as Director of Legal Studies. So I also take this opportunity to thank our Professor Santosh Kumar also. I once again thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and I wish the event a great success, and I wish all the participants a successful interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You've given a brief background of the positive and negative impacts. Now, our chief guest for today is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Tamil Nadu, Dr. Ambedkar Law University. It was with a constant motivation and encouragement of our respected sir that our college conducted the first virtual webinar on this very same day last year. We feel proud that on both the occasions, our Honorable Vice Chancellor has graced the event with his invaluable guidance and presence. On the first instance as the Director of Legal Studies, and today as the Honorable Vice Chancellor of our university. I take this as my privilege and honor to invite our respected Vice Chancellor to deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, FC. My good friend and most respected Director of Legal Studies, Professor Dr. Chokkalingam, my learned colleague and dynamic principal of Chennai, Dr. Ambedkar Government Law College, Pudupakkam, Dr. Gauri Ramesh, distinguished guest of this afternoon, the renowned academic environmentalist and the best academician of National Law School of India, Bengaluru, Professor Dr. Sairam Bhat, an inborn environmentalist, brought up environmentalist, living environmentalist, a good academician, a Harvard Law School product, and my good friend, Dr. Pushpakumar Lakshmanan, Assistant Professor of University of Delhi, my beloved teaching faculty members, Dr. Subhash Chandra Bose, Dr. Ramya, Dr. Arogyam, Dr. Brinda, Dr. Ashok Kumar, and the technical team faculty members, Dr. Shyam Sundar and Dr. Hepzibah Leela, and all other teaching faculties of Ambedkar Government Law College, Pudupakkam, and different faculty members from Ambedkar Law University and different colleges, principals of different colleges, faculty members, environmentalists, my beloved students, and ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to one and all. At that outset, I extend my warm greetings to one and all on the eve of this World Environment Day 2021. Actually, it gives me immense pleasure to appreciate Dr. Gauri Ramesh for her great administrative acumen to coordinate all teaching faculty members, especially during this pandemic, that too during this lockdown 3 situation, to celebrate the World Environment Day and make awareness about the depletion, preservation, and upliftment of environment on the eve of this day. I equally appreciate all the teaching faculty members who involved in this great occasion and who themselves involved in discussion on the eve of this auspicious day, really. Ladies and gentlemen, you all may be knowing that the theme of this 2021 World Environment Day is ecosystem restoration. as today is Environment Day, we can fix up any team and discuss for the betterment of the environment in any way. Accordingly, it seems this virtual meet is dealing with impact of COVID-19 on water, environment, and related ecological and human system. A nice topic, which includes restoration of ecosystem also indirectly, and covers almost all aspects of environment under the guise of COVID-19. That's all. Dear ladies and gentlemen, there is another alarming statistics you all must know. On reading this, even I am also shocked. Dr. Pushpakumar may be knowing better than me. Environment degradation is already affecting the well-being of at least 40% of the world population. At least 40% of the world population. It is affecting. Secondly, every year, the world loses 10 million hectares of forests. The soil erosion and other forms of degradation are costing the world more than 6 trillion a year. 6 trillion a year, which gives direct impact on loss of food production and other ecosystem services. Approximately 30% of the natural fresh water ecosystem have disappeared since 1970 onwards. 1/3 of the global fish stock are overexploited from 10% to 55%. Around 10 trillion in global GDP could be lost by 2050 if ecosystem services continue to decline. Land degradation could reduce a global food productivity by 12%, causing food prices to soar up by 30% in the year 2040. Like that, up to 700 million people are predicted to migrate because of land degradation or climate change by 2050. The decline in soil fertility in maize fields costs an estimated $500 million per year as extra cost of the fertilizer. Environment degradation can increase the distance between humans and wildlife and has been linked to outbreaks of diseases when years to come. My question is, how to overcome all these things? It is the right time to think all these things. That is the reason why the world as a whole is celebrating this day, at least for the sake of thinking of the present scenario of environment. But Dr. Gauri Ramesh has deviated all of us, and she has allowed us to talk only about COVID-19. And you just think about what extent it affects water, what it affects other things, by which she has made a big boundary to all of us to talk about. Though environment as a whole comes under that. By respecting her words, let us go towards the corona line. Due to coronavirus heinous attack on mankind, we have understood that unless we protect ourselves, even we may lose our life. And accordingly, we have decided to remain inside the shelter. Yes, we lost many friends. We lost our own relatives. We lost a very loved one. If we ask them, yes, corona, out of corona, out of corona, out of corona. Yesterday seen people are not alive today. And there is no guarantee for tomorrow also. That is a present situation. What way it affects the environment? That we are supposed to see. Two experts are here. They will take care of. We are telling about few things, this and that. That's all. Consequently, the environment and Mother Earth got a big sigh. Why? We have decided to remain inside under the name of lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown 3, etc., etc. And just now we received information that it is going to be extended also up to 15th or 14th. So there will be a guarantee that up to 15th we will be remaining inside the room. But environment is appreciating our present task of remaining inside the room. Why? In order to save the environment. So, by which the nature has taught a good lesson to the human being. And it shall not be taken for granted. And it has also been proved that conservation is a state of harmony between men and the land. It also further proved that the belief of someone else will save the environment also must be discontinued, and altogether should fight for saving the environment is the only way to the mankind to live comfortably in this universe. Shall we say that thanks to corona? Now we have to see that the corona or environment. We the poor human beings are suffering in between these two. Due to corona, the environment is appreciating the people. The environment is appreciating the people. No doubt. Whenever we happen to say anything, we are thinking about, we have to thinking about Dr. Gauri Ramesh, that she's having in Tamil, we used to call it as Kadivalam, that you are not supposed to speak environment as a whole. You speak about the COVID alone. Yes, no doubt. Water plays a very important role in facilitating the eradication of COVID in so many ways, directly and indirectly. But its sufficiency and purity is a question which is being discussed everywhere. There are some regions where it is noticed that high population with the high density situation prevails. Therefore, mitigating or controlling the spread of COVID is highly challenging in these regions, as it necessitates the identifying, accessing, and supplying the significant quantity of additional water resources all around to us. Purity of water is yet another biggest problem, and it's become a silent killer in this situation. Though COVID is not spreading through water, as it directly connected with the human life, at times it will be a big factor for slowdown or dislocation of COVID eradication process. That is the biggest problem the administrators are now facing. Anyhow, the so-called lockdown and stay-at-home restriction has greatly reduced the need for additional water use, which help to facilitate the process of containing this virus directly and indirectly. But our concern is how long this mutated virus will live with the human beings in this earth, and what extent our water management will give helping hand to eradicate this menace. as our demands for water will significantly increase in the future, especially in the domestic, industrial, and recreational sectors. So, it is a need of the hour to take all possible steps to preserve water and to undertake all possible steps to maintain its purity in order to safeguard the interest of the COVID patients. How this COVID-19 influenced the natural environment? What extent the numerous national lockdown gives positive or negative effect on environment? Yes, coronavirus disease is seriously threatening the world public health security. Currently, 200 and odd countries and regions have been affected by the epidemic, with the number of infections and death still increasing as it is mutated and acting like a new wine in the old bottle. As an extreme event, the outbreak of COVID-19 has greatly damaged the global economic growth and caused a certain impact on environment also. Worldwide spread of COVID-19 in a quite short time has brought a decrease in industrial activities, road traffic, and tourism. Restricted human interaction with the nature during this COVID crisis time has appeared as a blessing for nature and environment. Reports from all over the world are indicating that after outbreak of COVID-19, environmental conditions, including air quality and water quality in rivers, are improving and wildlife is blooming. As India always been above population with the pollution and with a huge population, heavy traffics and polluting industries leading to high air quality index values in major cities. But after declaration of lockdown due to COVID-19, quality of air has started to improve, and all other environmental parameters such as water quality in rivers have started giving a positive sign towards restoring. There are evidences-based improvement in air quality and environment during pre and post lockdown of this pandemic situation. This can be made to visualize in the air quality using tools like satellite images of Indian atmosphere, results of on-site real-time monitoring at specific locations calculated by the Central Pollution Control Board of India. On the other hand, there are also a negative secondary aspects, such as the reduction in recycling and increase in medical waste, further endangering the contamination of physical spaces, in addition to air. Therefore, we are supposed to analyze this issue in the following heads: COVID-19 and environment degradation, COVID-19 and air pollution, COVID-19 and climate meteorological factors, COVID-19 and temperature. This I am leaving to the audience. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, one thing is sure: we are living in a very sensitive era with very dangerous environment threat. Unless and until the world community join together and take very consecutive steps, the life of every human being in this universe will be a very big question mark. Let us all realize this and take a pledge to save environment from today. With this small introduction, I am very glad to inaugurate this webinar on impact of COVID-19 on water, environment, and related ecological and human system. and thank once again the principal and the faculty members of Chennai, Dr. Ambedkar Government Law College of Pudupakkam, for taking a daring steps to review the environment in this auspicious day. Thank you very much. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a wonderful inaugural address with the relevant statistics. And with regard to webinar, the small seed that you had sown last year has grown up this far to benefit the academic fraternity. And we thank you wholeheartedly for that, sir. So with this inaugural address, I hand over the next session to Mrs. Ramya, Assistant Professor, to introduce our first keynote speaker.
Thank you, Hexaman. Good afternoon, everyone. Very warm welcome to National Webinar on Environmental Law, the theme Impact of COVID-19 on Water, Environment and Related Ecological and Human Systems. It's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, respected Professor Dr. Sairam Bhat. Professor Dr. Sairam Bhat, presently serving as Professor of Law and Coordinator in Center for Environmental Education, Research and Advocacy, National Law School of India University. Professor Bhat pursued LLM and PhD in the Department of Law, University of Mysore. He was awarded the Young India Environmental Law Fellowship and he served as adjunct faculty at Golden Gate University, California, USA in 2003. Also Fulbright Nehru Fellow in 2010. He held various positions in international level, visiting researcher at the Georgetown University Law Center, Washington, D.C. Linnaeus Form Academic Exchange Fellow at the Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm. Also, he was the editor of Care Law Journal in 2005 and 2006. His publications are Environmental Law for Law Practitioners, Law Relating to Business Contracts in India, Natural Resources Conservation Law, Right to Information, Eastern Book House. Also, he started the NLSIU's book series in which he published books like Contracts, Agreements, and Public Policy, Energy Law and Policy in India, Right to Information and Good Governance. Also, he is the chief editor of the Journal on Environmental Law, Policy and Development and Journal of Law and Public Policy, published by NLSIU. He is also the chief editor of In Law magazine and the March of Environmental Law, published by NLSIU. Also, he is the coordinator of the Center for Environmental Law Education, Research and Advocacy and the Environmental Law Clinic. Areas of interest are environmental law, law of contracts, energy law, and right to information. With these few words of introduction, I proudly invite him to enlighten us on the theme of impact of COVID-19 on water, environment, and related ecological and human systems. Once again, I welcome you, sir, for the session. The floor is open to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramya, for that introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. N.S. Santosh Kumarji, namaskar. Respected Dr. Chokulingam, the Director of Legal Studies. Dr. Gauri Ramesh, distinguished faculty of Ambedkar Government Law College. My good friend and senior colleague, Dr. Pushpakumar, and participants to this webinar. Actually, Dr. Pushpakumar is like MS Dhoni. He's actually the star player, but he's been asked to come in the batting order a little later. So he's the captain of the ship, and probably we're all the players who are supporting the team. But with his permission, I will make a presentation followed by his presentation, and we'll try and probably take what Dr. Chokulingam and Professor Santosh Kumar have laid the foundation to. I think they've set the tone for this webinar and for this discussion, especially on today's Environmental Day. Friends, I'll be using a small PowerPoint presentation, and with that, I will try and lay some emphasis on what my idea is on the topic that has been identified for today afternoon. And the topic is very relevant, if you ask me. And I believe that somewhere, we have to answer this question. Is the environment in crisis today? Now, let's not see who's to be blamed for it. But I believe that I will answer this in an affirmative, and I'll say, yes, the environment is in crisis. If it is right, the question we should largely take up. Let me just see if my internet is stable. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just let me know if my internet is not stable, because I'm sharing a PowerPoint presentation. Is it stable? Can you hear me?
No, sir. No, sir. Your internet is very slow.
Your voice is dropping.
Your bandwidth is very low, sir. Your bandwidth is very low.
Okay, so then I will stop my presentation. I think maybe better.
Now it's better, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so I will not use my presentation. Let me just see if I can shift to some other network. Just hold.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry, I thought.
Still it's slow, sir. Still it's slow. It's
Still
showing it's slow. Yes. Participant, please wait. Sir will be coming soon, so he will start his presentation. His bandwidth is very low. Please wait. I think so. He's left.
Kindly wait few minutes. Some technical issue.
Sir is there. Can you check it out?
These are things beyond us, so we may have to be a little patient.
Yes.
The technical
Sir
issue.
is there. Sir is there.
Can I?
Yes, sir. Now.
Can I join?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yes.
Please. Now it's good, sir.
Perfect now.
Okay. I'm a little far away from Chennai. Maybe that is the reason there is a connectivity issue.
Yeah, absolutely understand, sir. No issues.
Yeah, sorry for this. Something beyond my control. But yeah, the hazards of technology on environment, probably. No, not really on a webinar like this. Yeah, so, I have 3 propositions before all of you. And this is for consideration of all my friends in the legal fraternity, both in the practice side, in the academia, also my budding students who are part of this webinar. So 3 propositions before you, friends. First is, in the last 1 year, we have faced a pandemic, and the pandemic has probably derailed not only the economy, but also the legal system to a lot of extent. The impact of the pandemic has been global. There is no doubt about it. And rightly so, I think the World Health Organization has declared the pandemic as a public health emergency, right? We know that this is a public health emergency, and who knows it better than India, which has already suffered the second wave, and we have faced the brunt of it in terms of losing our dear and near ones. Now, the public health emergency, friends, is important for many reasons. And one of those reasons is, when we talk about public health in India, let's start from a constitutional premises. we think that public health, interestingly, is managed by whom? So constitutionally, when we try to divide the scheme of things, you will notice that public health is a state subject. And that's why this vaccine, who should give the vaccine? State government, central government, we are not very sure. Who should procure, etc., etc. This conflict is still going on. Constitutionally, division of power is also a critical factor. Interstate public health may be with the central government. So look at it from a constitutional position. You will still notice that we are completely not prepared from a law and a policy system to deal with this pandemic. You will be surprised, friends, that this public health emergency that we are speaking about, COVID-19 as it were, we'll come to its environmental impact in a little time, don't worry about it. But let's just stick to public health. You will definitely appreciate that the two legislations which the government is relying on this pandemic is a law called the Epidemic Act, which is a colonial legislation. I hope you have read about it, you know about it. And the second legislation is called the Disaster Management Act of 2005. Now, the Disaster Management Act, friends, you will notice was probably, even I don't think the Disaster Management Authority ever visualized that they will have to be involved in something like a pandemic. So is the legal system, is the policy system in India addressing the pandemic as it were? Do we have robust law management system in place so as to avoid, anticipate, and deal with another pandemic maybe? As policymakers, as lawyers, I think our focus should be, one, on trying to identify the loophole in the existing law, maybe trying to suggest a robust new or an improved, modified version of this law so that at least we could manage it through the legal system. And has the public health emergency adequately been addressed constitutionally? I was talking to some of my constitutional teachers who are experts in this particular matter, and they were saying, look, constitutionally, we have certain emergency powers. One of those emergency powers is a presidential power. Second emergency power is a financial emergency power. The third emergency that we have in the Constitution is because of an armed rebellion or so on and so forth. And the emergency power in the Constitution does not provide the government the right to deal with a public health emergency. The Constitution probably has not anticipated anything like this. So maybe, is it time to make a constitutional change, shift? Maybe. So the foundational law may probably give the way to a specialized statutory law to deal with the public health emergency that is posed by COVID. You must be saying, sir, I think constitutional change or amendment is too far-fetched. Why should we just change the constitution for COVID or due to pandemic? It's one time. I think we will make over it. We'll fight over it. The vaccines are already there. Economy is fine. Country is going to get into growth, GDP, jobs, everything is going to be fine, sir. Constitutional change may not be required. It's something that some of us must be thinking now. Friends, I have to remind you that what you're thinking may be partially true, but not entirely true. Why? Do not forget that some years back, we fought something called a swine flu problem or a challenge. We looked at H1N1. Do you recollect? Otherwise, what has happened is COVID, too much of COVID. We have forgotten any other, man-animal interlinkages to public health. We have forgotten bird flu now. We have only looked at the bat flu. Pandemic is a bat flu. Bird flu has been forgotten. H1N1 has been forgotten. Friends, you will be surprised that in Bangalore, we have cases which actually come from cattle to children. It is called the foot and mouth disease. These are public health emergencies in children. Now, can you think about those challenges that a globalized world is going to offer? Friends, the pandemic is the result of globalization, to be honest. We couldn't stop the virus from entering the country, though it did not originate from this country. The challenges of globalization are not only for public health, it is also for climate change. Climate change cannot be handled by India alone. We need a globalized effort for the same. And you would notice, friends, while the World Health Organization in April 2020, please note it's a UN organization, WHO, declared that there is a public health emergency. The United Nations chief in December 2020, just 6 months down the line, said that there is a climate emergency in this world. Just 6 months. It is the UN chief's message on climate emergency. He said there is a climate emergency today. We heard him. We said, very good. Yes, maybe it's true. But friends, look at climate emergency right now as the challenge. Let's now come to environment for that matter. Environment in crisis. In India, when we talk about law and policy, friends, you will notice that we have enough legislations in the field of environment. Right from the Water Act, Air Act, Environmental Protection Act, so many notifications, Biodiversity Act, NGT Act, numerous laws. There is no dearth of any legislation in the field of environment. We have enough legislations. But do any of these legislations specifically address the challenges of climate change? Interesting difference. Is India a vulnerable nation that may be adversely affected due to climate change? We think we are not sure. But let me tell you, in the last 2 weeks, 2 cyclones came to the Indian subcontinent. One on the west side, another on the eastern side. 2 cyclones. And these 2 cyclones, again, interestingly, friends, were dealt under the Disaster Management Act. Do not forget, it is the Disaster Management Authority that has to respond. We have to look at preparation, we have to look at remediation, so on and so forth. But friends, climate change, now many may say, like, I don't know, the former president of the United States, he may not believe in climate change. He may be against it. And that's why he exited the Paris Agreement. And that's why the new president of the United States has come back to the Paris Agreement. But I think as in India, most of us do not doubt that we, being a subcontinent nation, will be affected by climate change. There are different aspects of climate change, friends. One is about different weathers that we are going to face. But climate change is going to impact the most vulnerable communities in India. The more vulnerable sections of people and those who are actually poor. Because when cyclone comes, it is their house that is going to be demolished and taken away. It is their crop that is going to be damaged. It is they who are going to be displaced. It's not me and you who are in more formidable houses, probably in the cities with good drainage facilities. We are safe. But it's these coastal vulnerable communities that are going to be affected by climate change. An interesting difference, when I talk about these vulnerable communities who get displaced, affected by, say, a cyclone, what does the law do? How does the law respond? Does the Water Act come to their rescue? Does Air Act come to their rescue? Does Environmental Protection Act come to their rescue? Does NGT come to their rescue? Answer yourself, friends. You will notice that the government comes up with an ex gratia compensation. The chief minister wants probably popular vote, so he'll say 2 lakh rupees, 1 lakh rupees. This is at the discretion of the state. Where is the right of the citizen? And hence, friends, isn't it time that we looked at not climate change law? Yes, this is the big debate all over the world. We are talking of climate change law. There are different countries like Germany and New Zealand that have brought in legislations. But in India, friends, we do not want a climate change law. We want a climate protection law. Citizens need protection from climate. And we need a law that assures that this right to climate protection is available to the vulnerable communities and sections of the people. It may be the coastal people, it may be the fishermen community, it may be the indigenous tribal people, it may be people from the island nations who are feeling threatened because of rising sea level. It could be Maldives, it could be Lakshadweep, it could be any other community that is so-called vulnerable due to the effects of climate change. Unless a country like India, friends, makes a very positive affirmation of a promise of climate protection, speaking about climate change and talking about global warming is not going to help. Because finally, friends, it is the poor, it's the marginalized communities who are affected either in a public health emergency or in a climate emergency. Most of us can afford because we have health insurance. We can go to private hospitals, but it's not the poor or the vulnerable and the downtrodden who can actually access public health. They are left out of the public health domain. Here again, we are leaving them out of the climate protection domain. Indira Gandhi ji, in 1972, friends, in the Stockholm Conference, she rightly said, poverty is the biggest threat to the environment. And I think today it's a reality. Unless you take care of these people and you protect them, environment is never going to be as safe and as good as we imagine it to be. And hence, friends, I believe that we can think of a proposition to look for some kind of legal transformation in India. And that proposition is, friends, please accept this proposition. It's only a proposition. We can debate, argue, agree, disagree. Should we have a constitutional amendment including public health and climate emergency in the Constitution? Is it important to anticipate the challenges of both public health and climate and empower the government with special powers? What are these special powers? Friends, you will notice Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, two neighboring states who cannot share a river, forget it. That's a controversial issue. I should not talk about it. We have gone in for a global tender for vaccine. We want global tender. Are bhai sahab, okay, not Hindi, Kannada or English or Tamil, we can only speak these languages. Friends, at this point of time, can we do away with the tenders? Because how long will a tender take to get these vaccines? Then there is competitive bidding. How many people are going to be competitive? See, emergency powers is urgency power. You should actually utilize it to save lives. And that is what is there in an emergency power. Second, an emergency power is a unification power with the central government. States don't have to fight. They don't have to, brick around and say, this is my domain, this is your domain. Interstate, you take care. Center, I will take care. National lockdown, local lockdown. Who decides which is the lockdown? Friends, please note, there was a very interesting article that I saw by an noted economist. He said it is time that India should print during the pandemic, print notes. The RBI must print notes. It must pump in money to the economy. And how can that money be printed? Extra money come into the economy unless there is a financial emergency that is declared. And hence, you will notice, friends, the kind of ideas that I see in the newspaper day in and day out demand that kind of urgency, emergency power in the government to deal with a situation which is once in a lifetime situation. Climate situation seems to be once in a lifetime situation. It seems that you need a climate emergency power. Otherwise, you cannot achieve climate protection. Friends, let me tell you, climate protection or environmental protection cannot be done in piecemeal approaches. For example, when you talk about climate change, friends, you would be saying, oh, it is the business of the Ministry of Environment. To be honest, friends, it's not the business of the Ministry of Environment alone. For example, when we are talking about protecting the climate, it is the Power Ministry or the Energy Ministry that has to look for more renewables. Our dependency on coal must be probably reduced. We must look at the Ministry of Transport to bring in more electric vehicles. If we have to look at cleaner fuel like CNG, low, then we have to look at Ministry of Petroleum. And hence, this is not that one ministry, one government, one wing of the government is going to achieve. Climate intersects every aspect of our life. It intersects every aspect of life, every department in the government. For example, I was so happy when SEBI came up with a circular just a week back. And it has asked all companies in India, because, climate change is not only the responsibility of the government, even the non-state actors have a critical role to play in climate change. Would you agree? I can't always say the government has to do it. What did you do? So SEBI has come up with a circular and it has asked all companies to come with a sustainability plan. It's not just, spend CSR money. No, what is your sustainability plan? Do not forget, last week, again, we got a very fantastic judgment from a Dutch court. And the Dutch court has asked a private company like Shell to reduce its carbon emission by 45%. Unless, friends, our the Adanis, the Reliance, the Tatas, the Ambanis, the Birlas, all of them contribute. I don't think we are going to arrest the challenges of climate change. It's a public-private partnership that is required. And for all of these, friends, I believe that we must not only look at a constitutional approach, but we must look at an integrated approach in dealing with public health and environment. It's very, very important, friends, that unless some of these legal and policy change is brought in, our efforts in tackling the future challenges of both public health and climate emergency or environmental emergency, as the case may be, is going to be achieved. Finally, friends, has COVID impacted the environment? It has. There has been positive impact. There has been negative impact. Honorable Vice Chancellor talked about positive impact. He rightly said, we are all in the zoo and the animals are free. We are all in lockdown and the animals are moving freely. A lot of positive impact. There has been negative impact. The point that I'm going to drive here is, friends, the positive and the negative impacts of the environment is going to be a continuous issue. Why is it going to be a continuous issue? Because right now, if you talk about solar as an alternate to coal, the handling of the solar panel or the waste that is going to come from the solar panel is going to be another big headache. So there is nothing like there is going to be zero energy or environment impact from any kind of development activity. There will be some impact of every developmental activity. The point is, are we in a legislative regulatory competence to plan adequately in the future to handle and tackle such challenges that arise from situations like COVID and what we are facing in the environment? I think that is where, as lawyers, as legal academicians, as law researchers, as law students, our efforts should be. And I believe that there is a lot of scope in deciding what the law ought to be, especially in a public health and a climate emergency. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Ramya Isuran will take up your questions now.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You have filled our brain with ideas and touched all the aspects like climate emergency issues and challenges and positive and negative aspect of impact of COVID-19 on water and environment and related ecological and human systems, etc. So thanks for your enlightening speech, sir. With these words, we will move on to question and answer sessions. Participants
Should we take
have
question and answer after Professor Pushpakumar's presentation? Because it should not derail his time in the webinar. Should we do that?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, sir. We can do it.
Definitely.
Yes.
Just to,
Yes.
with adequate respect to him as well.
Sure.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. So now we
Yes.
request our next guest, MS Dhoni sir, to give us helicopter shot. I request Mrs. Brinda Devi ma'am, Assistant Professor, to introduce our next keynote speaker.
Thank you, Madam Hepzibah. I take immense pleasure in introducing our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Pushpakumar Lakshmanan from Law Center 1, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. He is a very well-known and one of the most distinguished academics in India. Sir completed his LLB and LLM from Pondicherry University, and he obtained PhD from Delhi University in International Environmental Law. Further, as a Fulbright scholar, he pursued postdoctoral research at Harvard Law School, Harvard University, USA. He has been a research fellow at the Max Planck Institute for Comparative Public Law and International Law, Heidelberg, Germany, and he is a visiting scholar at the University of Washington Law School, USA, and Cardiff Law School, UK. Professor Pushpakumar initially started his career as an advocate after completing his post-graduation. Then his course changed slowly as he became education officer and has also worked in institutions including Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur, Nalanda University, and is now a professor at University of Delhi, rendering his academic service. He is an interdisciplinary legal scholar and contributed enormously in the field of environmental law, biodiversity law, access and benefit sharing for utilization of biological resources, and traditional knowledge of local and indigenous communities. In the research arena, Sir has contributed wide authority widely, authoring various research articles, books, and book reviews. To know more about his other distinctions, at the request of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, the National Biodiversity Authority, and the Biotechnology Consortium of India, Sir has produced research reports on the legal implications of the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing, and the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol on liability and redress for damage resulting from living modified organisms that facilitated the Government of India to ratify the international protocols. He has been associated with the National Biodiversity Authority in different national level committees and extensively contributed to the implementation of the Biological Diversity Act. At present, he is the member of the National Level Expert Committee to review and propose amendments to the Biological Diversity Act 2002, its rules and access and benefit sharing regulations. Further, Sir had drafted rules for the protection of plant varieties and farmers' varieties Act 2001 and contributed to the drafting of Biodiversity Act and Women Farmers Entitlements Bill 2011. He represented India as an official Indian delegation member in COP11 to the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety in Hyderabad in 2012. Currently, Professor Dr. Pushpakumar serves in the panel of International Roster of Experts for Biosafety under the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety to the Convention on Biological Diversity. What I have said would not even cover half of his original achievements. However, this could give us a glimpse on his commitment towards academics and research. With much delightfulness, may I request Professor Dr. Pushpakumar sir to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Very, very grateful to you for this graceful words. Wonderful. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very glad to hear the thought-provoking talks already made by the distinguished speakers. Professor Santosh Kumar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and respected Professor Chokkalingam sir, Director of Legal Studies, and my dear colleague and friend, Professor Sairam Bhat. Wonderful message has already come out. I also, before going into my talk, and I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Gauri Ramesh for organizing this, a fantastic program on a theme that is, of very important, value today. You have given me an opportunity to meet, my very, very senior colleagues, respected colleagues, and my, students. Thank you very much, ma'am. And Professor Arogyam, while introducing me, he has stated that I'm coming from Pondicherry. A small minor, correction. I come from Tamil Nadu. I had a chance to study in Pondicherry because of the proximity. Otherwise, I hail from Tamil Nadu only. So I'm so glad to connect with all of you and speak on this wonderful topic that is very close to my heart. Sairam Bhat has, given very, graceful words, but, I would say that, his experience and, the exposure to the subject is really great. And his, the way he has spoken now with the climate emergency and with the other, connected issues with the COVID is really fantastic. I really love that. I'm going to add only some, new perspectives. I will try to connect the topic with the curriculum that we teach. Environmental law is a compulsory subject for all of us now. When we studied, it was not a compulsory subject. It was not even a subject. But I was fortunate in when I studied in 94, 95. The Bar Council came out with a circular that it can be offered as an optional subject. So we were 4 people to take the subject. I'm very lucky to take that subject as an optional subject, and now I'm living with that subject. Such a fantastic subject that gives meaning to our lives. And most of the students, now we are attending might have studied this subject, and most of the colleagues that who are here may be teaching environmental law. how do you evaluate our teaching of environmental law in this COVID era? How are we going to take this teaching in the post-COVID era? I would like to ask all of you to think about it a little bit. I'll come back to this question a little later after discussing some aspects. Kindly keep this in mind. The theme of this year's World Environment Day is, environment restoration. The UN has declared in this decade as, the decade of environment restoration. The slogan they have proposed is that, reimagine, recreate, and restore. What should be reimagined? What should be recreated? And what should be restored is the point that we, all of us to think about. The earth has been doing this, reimagining, recreation, and restoration for the past 4.5 billion years. It's evolving. It is always evolving with new, ways. The way, we see the biodiversity on this planet will tell us that itself is the proof that how it is recreating, how it is reinventing the new solutions, and how it reimagines the whole earth systems. Are we going to reinvent and reimagine? How are we going to do? And what is the method for that? Are we, is it not, important to think about that? I've never heard that a tiger or an elephant or a bird has destroyed environment. Human-elephant conflict or human-animal conflict apart. That is, that is not destruction of environment. That is a survival issue of both, But the human beings that the way we are living, we have messed up this environment beyond, the limits due to our greed, due to our unmindful activities. We all know that. David Attenborough, the famous, the film director, documentary director, he has come out with the Gandhi. He's, in India, popularly, he is known for Gandhi movie. But he is an internationally renowned documentary maker, particularly on nature-related issues. He has come out with a witness statement where he says that the humanity is in face-to-face with the sixth mass extinction now. We are in that crisis. It is not a small environmental problem. It is not just that, there is a crisis that if we can address it, it will be gone. It's not that. It's the entire, sweeping out of the whole planet. That is the situation in which we are placed now. As, Professor Sairam Bhat has stated, the climate crisis, that one is sufficient to wipe out everything on this planet if we are not taking care of the situation properly. How are we addressing this? Our destructive activities for the past 50 years to 100 years. In fact, we can trace it back from the 17th century, when the Industrial Revolution, 16th or 17th century. But, those are very, very, gradual pollutions. But for the past 50 years, if you take stock, enormous amount of, the environmental destruction has happened. Water pollution has happened. Human systems, all the earth systems have been, dismantled. And it is because of our, the increasing amount of the developmental activities and our empowerment, in fact, with the help of technology, with the help of all kinds of wherewithals, we can do the destruction more within the limited time. That has given us the power to destroy things in a multifold manner. This has heavily affected the planet. We all know that. Okay. What it is not just, it has affected the planet and environment. In turn, what it has done, it has devastated our livelihood systems. Livelihood security of millions of people, pushing them into poverty. Cultivable agricultural lands have been completely affected. Our VC sir has stated this. Our water systems have been affected. Agricultural lands have been, completely, devastated. Drinking water has become scarce. Where is the drinking water? Potable water. When we studied, when we were young, people used to say that, my teacher used to come and say that, people are going to sell water. I would imagine that how will they sell water? Because I've never heard of such things. I was thinking that will somebody sit in the corner of the street and give one glass of water for certain paise, something like that? What kind of a thing? And now, it has become a part and parcel of our lives. Every house is fitted with the RO system, or every house is supplied with bottled water. This is the way we live. Completely all the water, systems, water, storage systems, conservation efforts, all have taken backseat. We do not have pure air to breathe. I'm in Delhi, my situation. We are breathing smoke, not air, so we are breathing smoke. That's what we used to say. Such a pitiable situation we are living. Where are we going? COVID-19 has given us a fantastic time within the home to think about all this. When someone is given 1 year time or more than 1 year of a time to, isolate and restrict yourself in a particular place within, residences, we start to think about the value of life. Freedom of the birds we know, and the difficulty of the birds which are put in the cage, we have become the second category now. Okay. So we have put ourselves in such a scenario. COVID is not something different. This is also a part of our own effort, our greed to control certain things. But the enough proof has not come, so I don't want to say anything about biological weapon or anything. So we don't want to. But one thing is clear, that most of the scientists are coming with some kind of evidences that this is not naturally developed. This is artificially developed. That much is coming out. We have to wait for the evidences to surface. All man created. Why? Since 1972 Stockholm Conference, we have taken enough number of international efforts. Conference after conference, every 10 years. Rio conference, as Professor Chokalingam sir has very rightly pointed out. It believed that is going to set the fate of the planet, the Earth Summit. It has come out with international approach with the help of CBD, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the Climate Change Convention, Desertification Convention, along with other non-binding agreements like the Agenda 21, non-binding documents, Forest Principles, Rio Declaration, and all. Based on that, most of the countries have come out with the national legislation. So Sairam has stated that, now we are in the stage where there is no new law required. We have come out with all kinds of laws, environmental laws that is required for, taking care of the basic environmental issues. Now we are going to, we are 50 years away from Stockholm. We're going to celebrate Stockholm 50 next year. 2022 is going to be a hallmark year in the environmental movement. We're going to look back how we have implemented our mandates. Many legal, scientific, and interdisciplinary approaches are being taken at the international and national level. You all know that how the Sustainable Development Goals are aligning all our priorities, all our priorities of our lives in different sectors, so that a meaningful development can happen. Sustainable development is a different thing. I don't want to go into that in much detail. Sustainability is is based on the time span, and sustainable development. Okay. There are many issues we need to look at that we will, I reserve it later for discussion. But here, the linkages that we need to create in our understanding of environment and the development is really, really to be done. It is not yet understood well. There are issues relating to biological diversity, issues relating to climate change and our livelihood systems. It touches upon everything. Climate change, the one aspect, touches upon every aspect of our life, starting from our food, our medicine, our jobs, our earnings, livelihood, everything, including water and air. How much are we teaching in our curriculums? We are teaching environmental law in every law college, every university. I request all of you to go back to the question that I have posed in the beginning. In our curriculum, how much are we linking with the present crisis that we are facing today in our environmental, teaching, environmental law teaching? Professor Bhat has very rightly stated that we are trying to put everything, even the government, we are trying to put everything into the disaster management, aspect. We are not trying to understand it as a part of the environmental regulatory systems. We are not trying to link it with disaster and environment. Are we going to do justice if we do like this? And another important aspect here is we have been teaching different laws. Where is health in our legal, teaching? Where is health? Where is the health law? How are we going to deal with such scenarios now today, we are faced with? Are we going to teach the environmental law or the law in general in the same manner in the post-COVID era? I ask this question, very important, because now the whole world is going to look at the lives, pre-COVID and post-COVID era. In the same manner, our teaching, our job markets, everything is going to be looked at in this manner. How are we going to connect? Are we going to teach the same subjects like Air Act, Water Act, Environment Protection Act in the same manner that we teach? Or celebrating all the judgments that happened in 96, 97? How we are going to deal with the situation now we are placed with? Are we planning to connect biodiversity and climate change law? In fact, we don't have a specific climate change law in India that is much in need of the hour, as Professor Sairam Bhat has stated. We need to work for it. When I discussed with the government circles and the think tanks who are, advising the government, I simply say that where is the need of a climate change law? We have climate change policy that is sufficient. There is a lack of understanding in the top level. That is a problem. And it is deliberately done. It is not that they don't know. They don't want to know. The moment it becomes a mandatory law, they have to follow it. If it is a policy, it's okay. As much as possible, we'll follow it. Otherwise, it's fine. We'll make report after report. That's all. But if it is a law, you are liable. You'll be taken to court. You have to invest a lot. The industries have to invest a lot if it is made a binding law. So they don't want. Economists also support this point of view. So in that scenario, how we are going to deal with, the way we are teaching environmental law with the post-COVID era? Unless we connect our, environmental law subject with the health, with restoration, there is no meaning, it is not going to add anything. We have created several lawyers. What they are doing? Can they do anything for the betterment of the environment? How much we have done? Most of the teachers that you are teaching here, environmental law, may be teaching for 10 years, 20 years now, more than that also sometimes. Do you see the visible change happening in the country with the help of our teaching, with the help of the understanding of the environmental laws? How to change this situation? We have to touch that point. We have to, touch the hearts of the students to think and to contribute to achieve the spirit of the environmental laws that we teach. Otherwise, it becomes yet another mechanical law, another law. Because environmental law is a special law. It has life in it. It deals with life. It protects the life. When it protects the life, it protects the life itself, and it protects the life, supportive methods. Whether it is a job, whether it is a house, whether it is food, whether it is water, this air, everything's related in environmental law. Then in that case, we need to make such linkages for our students to understand. Then they will be able to fight for the cause of environment, for water, for climate change, how to deal with that climate change, for biodiversity. I take this biodiversity, why I asked this biodiversity, are we incorporating this? How much of biodiversity law is being taught in the classes? Do you all know that? I come from Delhi University. We have 8 units. The last unit is forest, wildlife, biodiversity. You know that how we teach. The end of the semester, you will be pressure, you will have the pressure to complete the course. And normally you will sideline that last unit. That's what happens. And when I discussed with most of my colleagues in different other universities, they also share the same point of view. The real environment lives there. The forest, the wildlife, the biodiversity. How to make this understand to the students? Of course, we are all worried about the air pollution, water pollution, solid waste management, noise pollution. Definitely we need to teach. No doubt about it. But how it should be connected with other aspects also. That is very important, that we need to make it a point that it should be taught in a full-fledged manner. Because pollution-related laws and the conservation-related laws both should go hand in hand. Then only you will be able to achieve the sustainable development that we are thinking of. It is not going to happen otherwise. When we are talking about water, our seminar is relating to water. How many of our students will know about wetland law? There is a notification on wetland. If there is something happening to the wetland, how many of our students will be able to respond to that situation? Such things, because it is very difficult. It is very difficult to connect these issues in the times of crisis, and that will be possible only in the teaching, in the curriculum, when they are being prepared. Then when they come out as lawyers or the policymakers, or when they sit in some other positions, they'll be able to address the situations in a proper manner. And when we are saying all these things, I wanted to remind only 2 things and conclude my point. I gave the example, starting from the Stockholm Conference. It may be true for many countries that, the environment conservation started with Stockholm Conference for many countries. But India is not. Environment protection in India is age-old. We did not wait for 1972. We all know it for 5,000 years or more. Okay. And in that context, the Indian culture, the Indian traditional values relating to environment conservation, how much is incorporated in our system, in our teachings? Do our students know that? Do they learn that? That is the thing that we need to incorporate. The traditional wisdom of the people. Sometime back in 1997, I think, the CSE has come out with a report, a fantastic report. I request all the participants to note it down. It is called A Dying Wisdom. They have come out with a report called A Dying Wisdom relating to water. They have catalogued all the wisdom of the local communities in India to conserve water. They did not wait for the Water Act to come. In fact, Water Act deals with only the water pollution. But the water conservation, indeed, that also contributes in a manner to water conservation, no doubt about it. But the water conservation measures in the agricultural fields, in the mountainous areas, in the villages, with river restorations, how river restorations happen. So all those things are already captured. This is the country which has, which stood as a role model for other countries. Every country wanted to come and conquer us. Everybody wanted to come and visit us to know our wisdom and to enjoy our environmental resources. If you look at the history, that is why we have become major casualty in the history. Everybody who came here ruled us. When we are talking about the global developments and all those things and incorporating in the Indian teaching, we need to look at our own strengths, the past strengths. And the second point I would like to note here is that since we are coming from Tamil Nadu, most of the participants are also coming from Tamil Nadu. You should know about rich culture of Tamil Nadu. 1992, the CBD introduced the ecosystem approach to protect the biodiversity, based on the ecosystem approach. If you want to protect a tiger, you cannot just, catch the tiger, put it in the cage, and provide food. It's not like that, not an isolated method. If you want to protect tiger, if you want to protect elephant, or if you want to protect crocodile, you have to protect the ecosystem. That is, that particular species is living. The whole ecosystem has to be protected. That is how, now we are moving and we are protecting it. Every country is also having national biodiversity action plans for this purpose. Sangam age in Tamil Nadu, how many years back, thousands of years back, they had ecosystem approach. You may all be knowing about, Kurunji, Mullai, Marudam, Neithal, Palai. They had the systems. These are ecosystems. They divided the types of the ecosystems and they provided the things required for conservation, governance, and for the facilitation of the people's lives based on this. All are provided there in our literatures. So we need to, instead of looking at the environmental problems in an isolated manner, connecting it with different other strengths, our ancient strengths, because you cannot completely, take the old practices and put it into the modern life. We understand it fully, but whatever is possible, we have to align it here. Most of the times, we don't understand why this law is not working. Most of the laws are not working because these are not our laws, very frank. These are implanted, imported laws. When the British were ruling here, whatever they wanted to do, they brought laws from their country and they compelled it, here to be implemented, and we had no option, we followed it. And even after that, most of those laws are continuing. Why the people are not following many of the laws? They don't feel that the internalization of the law doesn't happen here in the country. If environment has to be protected, if human systems have to be protected, you have to own those ideas. And that will be only possible when you connect with your roots and amend it with the modern needs. Then only it will be possible. There are many things like this, we need to incorporate such values in the modern thinking process. It need not be taught only. This should be exposed to our students with the help of our visits or with the help of some other, special lectures like this. Then they will be able to understand and link with the different life systems. Restoration of rivers, that. It was part and parcel of our lives. The title of the seminar says water, conservation and human systems. Water. You all we are all coming from different villages, different, places. In South particularly, not only in Tamil Nadu, this is available in Karnataka, this is available in, Kerala. This system is available in Andhra Pradesh. In South particularly, I have observed, every village have will have a temple, and every temple will have a temple tank. The temple tank is not for the god who is sitting inside. The people have, wisdom. They had wisdom at that time. This is water conservation system. The temple tanks will store water. The whole of the year, the village will not suffer. And that will not be polluted because, that water is used for, the worship or the prayers for the god. So people are afraid and they respect it also. And there are different types of, the temple tanks. If you go to the south of the Tamil Nadu, you see different kinds of deep wells available there. And this culture also we have lost. And there are other systems I could, we could recollect, like, in Tamil literature, we do not know whether it is, real or true or mythology, whatever. But I'm just giving an example of, what kind of a culture it is. Every river has to be restored, renovated every year with the help of the local people. They did not wait for the government to come. Every house has to send one person for restoration. You know that, the story. It was said that God came here and he himself, took the sand. Like that, they used to say that. There are many rational people. I don't want to go into that mythology part. I'm not telling that. These are our, part of life. And this was ingrained into the religious systems because people have to be, bound in such a manner. So that's how it was. So my only request is that, is it possible to connect with our roots and connect with the modern needs? How that will happen? And secondly, when we are really worried about environmental concerns, health concerns, how we will make it effectively, pass to the students in our curriculum? These two questions, I leave it to you. Kindly, think about it. We can have a workshop or we can have many other deliberations a little later. And then only we can make a real difference in our lives. Because by teaching law, we are not only creating, lawyers. We are creating leaders. Everywhere in every country, who are the leaders, most of the times it is the law students, the lawyers. They are the leaders because they are, in fact, they connect every issue in the society. That's why the sociology of law becomes very important for the students to understand. So when we create such leaders, when we have such concerns, we should, make efforts to, connect such roots and the modern needs, in our teaching. Then all our problems, whether ecological problems or the environmental problems or water related problems, or even the health related problems in the COVID era can be addressed, because unless we understand and enjoy the subject and understand it, we'll not be able to deliver in any, effective manner. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. There was a very practical approach to the theme, I believe. Thank you, sir. Now I hand over to Ramya, ma'am. She'll be asking the questions to our first speaker.
Ramya,
You
ma'am,
have
unmute
to
yourself.
unmute, ma'am.
Ramya, ma'am, unmute yourself.
No problem. Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Hepzibah, ma'am. Sir, the participants have sent many questions in chat box. In the interest of time, due to time constraint, we will take only few questions. Okay. So I proceed the first question. The question from Naushad. What is the position of climate legislation and climate litigation in India? Kindly.
The position, yeah. So
the position is that we are evolving, I'm sure. There's a lot of scope and ambit for both climate law and climate litigation. We already had a case called the Ridhima Pandey case before the National Green Tribunal, but unfortunately the case was not successful. We already know that climate litigation is a reality in different parts of the world already. I gave you the Dutch example. There is an example in New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Canada, Norway. There are numerous such examples of climate litigation already. What is those litigation all about? I think that is very important. I think the litigation is all about what is the responsibility of large emitters, like large companies who are in India called the red category companies, and to what extent they must reduce their carbon emission, and what should be their commitment to climate protection. Now, climate litigation in India is probably evolving to some extent, where the judges in some of their judgments have kind of noted that climate change is a reality in India, and we need adequate protection towards the same. In terms of climate law, I think there is already an interesting bill that is brought. It's a private member bill by none other than Mr. Jayant Sinha. I don't know if some of you know about it. He is the son of Yashwant Sinha. He is a member of parliament. He has presented a private member's bill. It is yet to be taken up for consideration. It was just presented a couple of weeks back. And it's a bill that is modeled on the New Zealand law, which looks at zero carbon target by 2050. I don't know if many of you know this. Under the Paris Agreement, we are committed to look at a zero carbon target by 2050. Right? That is in another 29 years' time. New Zealand already has a law. Germany also has one. There are certain countries that have already declared this. Many countries have brought a law to achieve it. Like Dr. Pushpakumar was saying, the difference between a policy and a law, the binding nature of law. In India, this may be hard to realize, may be hard to achieve, because in India, please note, when we talk about kind of a zero carbon target by 2050, right now, in terms of electricity and power, 60% of our power is still coming from coal-fired thermal power stations. You cannot bring coal to zero by 2050. It's not possible. It's not real, because even now in India, energy equity is not achieved. What do I mean by energy equity? I mean that electricity for all is yet not achieved. Right? Rural electrification is still not possible. So for us to get into a zero carbon target is almost an impossible, kind of a situation. This is my personal view. I could be wrong. I could be debated about it. But there are different research that is already going on. One from our side. We are also drafting a bill, and we are presenting it to the ministry as well on climate change. It will take some time for the government to probably accept the climate change law, but I'm sure we will see the reality of it at some point, someday. It could probably see the light of the day.
A question from Mr. Yelumalai. Kindly clarify regarding alternative to the solar panel to tap sunlight into power.
Yeah, so, there is no alternate. As I told you, there are pitfalls into every kind of activity that you take. For example, I can just address not solar. Let's take wind. I don't know if many of you have realized, when you actually have these windmills, I'm sure there are many in Tamil Nadu. I've seen in at least in Tiruchirappalli, when I was landing over there were huge windmills over there. Now, when these windmills are being put, they are big blades, that circle, and they produce wind energy. Can they come in the path of the migratory birds? Could they come in the path of migratory birds? Maybe yes. So there are challenges in every aspect, and I think the ability of the government while investing in solar is to look at how much of the equipment can be reused and recycled. That should be our emphasis upon. Solar panels still have carbon, and most of this is quite dependent upon the Chinese market. There are a lot of challenges. A solar panel has a life of around 15 years, not more than that, maybe 15 to 25 years, depending upon its production. and it is going to turn into some kind of material that should be attempted to be recycled. So I think a plan ought to be in place. We have to visualize it from now itself, and the law and policy must bring in what we call in environmental law as EPR, Extended Producer's Responsibility. What does Extended Producer's Responsibility do? The manufacturer or the producer is duty bound to take back the product once it is a waste. This is what we say, that manufacturers and producers do not only have responsibility during the life cycle of a product. Please understand, they also have a responsibility in its end cycle, right? EPR is a reality in law today. Please understand, under the Electronic and Electrical Waste Management Rules of 2016, we are forcing manufacturers and producers of electronic and electrical material to implement EPR in India. And I'm sure if we extend it to solar panels and others, it is going to be making these manufacturers far more responsible for what they produce and let in the market.
Thank you, sir. The last question from Mr. Smith Jain. Increasing the CSR expenditure will be possible solution to the impact caused to the environment?
No, money cannot buy you good environment. Sorry. I think you should not even think about it. Yes, we need money to look at conservation and protection of natural resources. We need money to invest in technology so that cleaner technology can be adopted by the industries. We need money to compensate and rehabilitate vulnerable communities. We need money for that, no doubt about it. But money alone cannot achieve what we should do as a society. And hence, I would rather say that instead of focusing, like Pushpakumar ji rightly said, let's look at education for an instance. Our focus on education always has been on the rights approach. What is the rights approach? Students, you have the right of speech and expression. Great. Students, you have the right of environment. Great. Students, you have the right to life. Great. But I think our emphasis on education should be on the duties. From a rights-based society, why don't we get into a duty-conscious society? And let us not forget, if you're talking of right to environment as a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution, Article 51 AG of the Constitution equally says that you have a fundamental duty to protect and conserve the environment. Our emphasis should be on imparting that kind of values and education to our younger generation, which is already being done. I think, let's not say it's not being done, it's being done. But I think it is important to take it to the next level. And if you take it to the next level, the society consciousness itself will mean that this CSR's funding or the CSR money that goes into the right cause, right purpose, and we can actually measure the success of that CSR funding.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for answering all the questions patiently. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. Now the session hand over to Heswa, ma'am.
Yeah, now I request Brinda, ma'am.
Thank you, Hepzibah, ma'am. So after hearing to Professor Dr. Pushpakumar, sir, after hearing a piece from you, we have received lot of questions in the chat box. Due to paucity of time, we'll be going with one or two questions, sir. One is from Aravindias. Sir, do you really think that the present Disaster Management Act provision is sufficient to deal with the current pandemic scenario, especially with reference to rehabilitation aspects amidst various mandates? Sir, kindly unmute your audio.
The present, the Disaster Management Act is very broad in nature. You can bring anything into that. Okay. But the real question should be that whether the Disaster Management Task Force or the implementation mechanism that we have, whether they will have that kind of ability to rehabilitate such a number of people who have been affected with COVID. That we are not prepared. Because the disaster management itself, the philosophy behind the disaster management itself is that, preparedness to meet any kind of a disaster. But in this situation, there is no preparedness. So in that case, how you will be able to deal with? But the law is, you can bring anything under the law. If you consider something as a disaster, definitely they have to do it. But the problem in country here is that, we have not created such a systems to deal with the crisis because you need large number of manpower, financial resources and technological intervention, that is not available. And that's why they are struggling. Even though they are doing good work, we have to appreciate that. We are still struggling with due to other issues.
Sir, another question from Dr. Pita. Is it possible to have carbon emission restriction for our industries?
For industries?
Yes, sir.
Yes, carbon emission, reduction has to be there for the industries, and there is no choice. You have to do it, and you have to do it with the help of stringent laws. That's what should happen. With the help of the EIA and with the help of the consent order that we issue under the Air Act, we are trying to do this because when any industry is being set up, before it sets up, it has to submit to the Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board for the consent order. At the time itself, they prescribe the limits of the air pollution. That includes the carbon emission too. But how much is being followed? Whether if it is not followed, whether they are taken into task, whether they are reduced, such things are really gray areas. Nobody knows because the litigation filed by the State Pollution Control Board is too less. That doesn't mean that there is no violation in the consent order or the Air Act. Okay, so these issues have to be addressed. But as our Sairam Bhat has Professor Bhat has stated, we need to have a proper climate change related law that will prescribe scientifically, what kind of the carbon emissions can be allowed, how much can be reduced. If it is not reduced, what kind of a liability can be fixed. Such things have to come specifically. Okay, unless otherwise that is done, that with the help of the Air Act, we are not able to cope with that situation.
So we can have this as a last question. This question has been posted by one of our professors from Chennai, whether bioenergy from the biomass collected from landfill sites would be helpful to reduce climate change impact on environment using biotechnology.
Using biotechnology?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure whether how do you connect biotechnology there. Definitely, the biogas developed from the landfills are really useful because it is the less harmful fuel. We are not this is not affecting the environment in the sense when you develop electricity through thermal plants. Okay, so this is a very good option. This is in fact what do you say, double purpose. One is you are ably segregating and dealing with the solid waste created in the different cities, and you are trying to segregate from the people so that the health hazards are avoided and it is put in a place, and you are trying to utilize that, recycle it or reuse it in that manner. You are trying to extract biogas from that. That really provides benefit to the environment. Okay, so that way. I'm not sure that how biotechnology comes in. Maybe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time. And it was really surprising to know the preservation of ecosystem at Sangam age and other facts which you have given us. Thank you so much, sir. Over to Hepzibah, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session. I extend my thanks to both the speakers. And a big thank you to all the well-disciplined audience that we had, because this session went on flawlessly. So now I request our Professor Ashok Kumar sir to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Hepzibah ma'am. Good afternoon to everyone present here in this national webinar on World Environment Day. We are happy to organize this national webinar in our esteemed institution, and I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this great occasion. First of all, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to our chief guest, Dr. N. Santosh Kumar sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Ambedkar Law University, who despite his busy schedule, have graciously presented himself. He indeed made this event a memorable one for all of us. On behalf of our institution, I thank you, sir, for being here and always being an inspiration for all of us. I also wish to express our heartfelt gratitude to our patron, Dr. C. Chokalingam sir, Director of Legal Studies, Tamil Nadu, for providing his wholehearted support and encouragement to organize this webinar in our institution. We are delighted to have your presence in this great event, sir. I am also thankful to our convener, respected Principal, Dr. Gauri Ramesh Madam, for her ever supporting and inspiring leadership. We have no words to express your involvement, hard work, and commitment towards our conducting academic activities in our institution. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank our key speakers who have given their splendid inputs and shared their in-depth knowledge to our participants about environmental crisis, COVID-19 and its impact on environment, and also about protection of ecosystem by denoting several historical aspects and practices. All the sessions are proven to be informative because of your wide experience in the legal arena. Once again, we thank you, sir, Professor Dr. Sairam Bhat, sir, and Professor Dr. Pushpakumar Lakshmanan, sir, for consenting to share your knowledge in this forum. I thank Advocate Adilakshmi Logumurthy, Madam, former President of Women Lawyers Association, and Dr. Cyril Vincent, Advocate of Pondicherry, for being here to encourage us. I also thank respected HODs and respected professors from Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University for making their gracious presence in this webinar. I thank Dr. J. Mahalakshmi Madam, Dr. Harita Devi Madam, Dr. V. Balamurugan sir for being here to encourage us. I also thank the respected principals of various government law colleges, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Ramling Ma'am, Dr. Tangaramani Ma'am, Dr. S.M. Balakrishnan sir, and respected professors from various law colleges for making their presence in this webinar. I am also thankful to our senior professors, Mrs. Usha Ma'am, Mrs. K.S. Begum Ma'am, and Swaminathan sir for being our great support. I also extend our gratitude to our senior assistant professors, Mrs. Devi Ma'am, Mrs. Rekha Ma'am, and Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose sir for being support to conduct this webinar. I am glad to thank our physical director, Muthu sir, who is always present at our side to render support to us. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues. I thank Mrs. Madhumita ma'am, Yehahini ma'am, Kritika ma'am, Manu madam, Janu ma'am, and Vijayshri ma'am, assistant professors for their great support in this webinar. I especially thank our co-conveners, Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose sir, Mr. Arogyam sir, Mrs. Ramya madam, Mrs. Brinda Devi madam for their hard work in conducting this webinar in a successful manner. I thank our technical team, Mrs. Hepsiba Beulah ma'am and Dr. Shyam Sundar sir, assistant professors whose efforts cannot be compensated by just saying the word thank you. We are glad to acknowledge your hard works behind the screen for conducting this event without any technical glitches. Thank you, sir and madam. I also thank our guest faculties, Dr. Vadivelu sir, Mr. Karthik sir, Jeevaratnam sir, Muthuswamy sir, Mrs. Dharniyamal ma'am, and Ms. Brinda ma'am for their active role in this webinar. We thank all the participants from various parts of the nation for their active participation. And I thank students of our college and everyone who have made this webinar a remarkable event. I especially thank our principal madam for giving me this opportunity to address this learned forum. Over to you, Epsiba ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashok sir. Now we have reached the end of the program. I kindly request all of you to rise up for the national anthem.
Jana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you to everyone. We have sent the feedback form in the chat box. You may fill in the details so that it will be helpful for us to conduct our future webinars, and any comments for the speakers also you may feed in there. We will share it with the speakers too. I request all the Pudupakkam faculty to stay back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, sir.
Such a wonderful, program.
Sir, all of us are benefited. The participants, all of them are very much benefited by your enlightening speech, sir.
Thanks, ma'am. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sairam, but sir,
No, ma'am, he's left, ma'am.
He's left. VC sir is left, is it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.